What is happening, y'all? So I gotta find out what Angry Joe and the crew thought thought of the movie. They're always very interesting to hear. So without further ado, let's get it. And remember to subscribe to Angry Joe, one of the best channels on YouTube. Let's get it.
Hey guys, welcome.
That didn't work, right? Okay, let me try it again. There we go.
Hey guys, welcome to our Thor Love and Thunder review. The sequel, the fourth Thor film. This one from returning director Taika Waititi. And I was so excited to see this film because I gotta say, Thor Ragnarok is one of, if not one of my favorite Marvel MCU film. I just love Taika's take on Thor. The comedy is
perfect. I love Ragnarok too.
And that was a 10 out of 10 film for me. So this one had a lot to live up to. And then before its release, we saw that Jane Foster's getting involved. She's the new Thor. You know, and Natalie Portman's returning to the role. And then you get the announcement of Christian Bale being the villain. So this is really building up for me. Slightly before release, I'm seeing kind of some news stories that it's mixed. It's not very good. So what's the truth?
Reviews,
like,
yes.
How is the film after having seen it? I'm going to let the boys go first. What did you guys think of Thor, Love and Thunder?
I can see how this is a mixed bag. For me, obviously, I'm still going to enjoy Ragnarok way better than this one.
Yeah.
For this, I came in pretty average. I didn't expect too much. It's still an enjoyable film, but I just feel like it overused its comedy a little bit too much. As like, wow, it's welcome for me.
Yeah,
like,
I'm glad that you noticed the same.
That's what I said.
It's funny the first time, but why do we get to do it again and again and again throughout the film?
Yeah.
Must be talking about the goats.
I think Chris did a good job as Gore.
He's one of the best part.
He didn't, but I felt like he was underutilized though. They didn't.
He was.
God damn, Joe, you literally just spoke everything that I was gonna say.
I was like,
Okay.
Yeah,
I wish there was more of him.
Same thing. I enjoyed this one.
Something
I
to flesh him out more.
I love how they just completely course corrected how bad the first two Thor ones, and it was just like this amazing bright spot, literally bright spot in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. This one's big. It's bright. It returns with the humor. I think some of the there's at least one, if not too many running gags that they really overutilize. And then they do something
like screaming goats quite a bit.
Yeah, and the writing kind of goes to Crazy Town a little bit, where Taika Waititi's always done that. I know he always does that. Well, he does, but he goes even beyond that.
It's like where they took the training way, or they let him go unrestricted.
To the point where
probably we should have reined him in.
To the detriment of the film, where it just feels like this is
kind of like
direct, especially certain parts like
Tim Burton
kids,
and Batman Returns with the Darkness.
Fucking God Butcher, Christian Bale acting his ass off.
Yes.
He was incredible. There is no God butchering at all in this movie. There's apparently hours on the cutting room floor that they just cut out. And I think this movie needs at least 30 more minutes.
There's one in the beginning.
Being a villain in this movie, rather than feeling like kind of like a side piece that kind of shows up at the very end.
Yeah, I've heard that as well, that there are more Christian Bale scenes that were cut from the film. Absolutely a tragedy, because...
and it felt like that.
His take on it now, it
felt like some stuff was cut. It felt like the movie was longer.
Sinister and kind of quirky to see... Christian Bale, good guy Christian Bale, turned into kind of a Joker-esque kind of character.
With a believable motive.
Yeah. With a believable motive, yeah. No, I loved his performance.
Yeah.
He really, buoyed the film here. And I think the film actually takes kind of a while to really get going. I think the third act, it found its way. And you're having a pretty good third act. But when you consider that Thor Ragnarok started really good within the first 5 minutes, and then maintained that all the way through with an excellent third act, it is a disappointing thing to try to match up these two films, But it is not a bad film at all. No, you can have
I don't think
fun.
it's bad.
So my critic brain says, "Damn, this one just didn't hit, the Ragnarok level."
I know a lot of you
But
said it was
my
bad. I saw
fan
the comments.
brain and MCU brain and Thor brain says that it's a fun ride that you should go out and see. However, it makes some creative choices with a lot of the characters, and some that I don't really like, nor do I really care about, nor do I want to see play out in future films. You know what I mean? And we can talk about some of that in spoilers. There are some cameos, real life cameos of real life related characters. Of course, Thor's or Chris Hemsworth's family makes a lot of cameos in this film, and then we also get the gods. So you've got a very funny Russell Crowe as Zeus. You've seen him in the trailer. And it's kind of surprising the route that they went there, and the resolution to that was
Russell Crowe used to be in good shape.
So there is 2 after credit scenes that you should stick to watching.
No more,
because they're both worth it, extending the story. But this time, I agree with both Joe and Alex that I think the pacing was off, the jokes, right? So this is Taika, Waititi, and he does a lot of jokes. Unfortunately, they just weren't as funny this time around as the other ones.
Too silly.
And like you're saying, they would repeat jokes over and over. Some that would work would be like Stormbringer. They made an inanimate object somehow funny.
I thought that was good like 2 times.
Yeah,
there's like 5 of them. I'm like, after a while, I'm like, oh man, I don't.
Same thing with the goats. The screaming goats are hilarious the first time they show up, and then also when they slam into something later on. But every time they're on screen, they're screaming their heads off like 5-6 times. And even Korg
they did make me laugh.
Given enough time,
even though I knew it was coming.
Well, he just kind of
it still made me laugh.
Just like follows Thor around, and so mainly this was to drive the plot of Gore and Jane Foster, and
Foster's
feel
Australian for beer,
so to speak. Christian Bale doesn't get enough time. And Jane Foster, that thing, it just kind of feels like it comes out of nowhere.
Yes, it does.
And I know it's in the comics, so it doesn't really come out of nowhere. But it's resolved. It's shown. Like, I actually expected the film to just, like, Jane would just show up and she's Thor, and they would kind of explain it on later. No, it shows the creation of Jane. It goes into it. She gets a scene with her.
In the comics, how did it happen? Someone tell me, please.
I forget this lady's name. You've seen her in the...
It's Darcy, right?
Darcy, yeah. What series was she in?
She was in
WandaVision, yeah. So she gets there. So I guess it makes sense. They had to show some of that so they could fit her in as well. But ultimately, it was a little disappointing. But there are some really
but she
fun
was in
bright
other
spots
Thors
in the movie, especially when they go into the Shadow Realm, which is this. It kind of saps all the color, so the cinematography is really cool. The fight and visuals are really cool. I think Taika Waititi is still really good at that. Especially, I know Gore is supposed to look completely different, supposed to look more like a tentacle monster. But honestly, I like the way Christian Bale looks in this and his take on it, as well as the shadow monsters. Now, this blade is really important in the comics. This blade, and it does end up differing in this film, at least from what I've seen. This blade is supposed to be like from the first symbiote and Kroll or something like that, the symbiote god. But it doesn't seem related to any of that. Instead, it's kind of slightly different, more shadow.
The way the monsters are, I was like, okay, maybe that's the symbiote.
There are some monsters that are created so that Gore can have an army, so that Thor can then raise an army to fight. Initially, he wants to raise an army of gods, which seems pretty cool. Instead, he raised an army of... We'll talk about that in the spoilers. An army of Asgardians. But, yeah, I kind of thought that was kind of dumb, but that's just me. Anyways,
It was fun for
maybe
me.
a film.
It worked for me.
For kids. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And usually that
so
stuff
let's
irritates
go
me,
ahead and
but
let's
it
go
didn't. I was
into
surprised.
Some final verdicts, and then we can talk a lot of spoilers in a big old section.
I think everyone did a great job acting their asses off in this one. Natalie Portman did a great job, especially Christian Bale. But again, I feel like Christian Bale was the only one taking his role pretty serious. And even when I was like getting into it, I was like, oh shit, this is gonna get pretty tense. They start using jokes and kind of takes me out. I'm like, well,
Totally off.
Everybody
yeah,
was saying
it's
that.
like, it ruined
I've seen
it. I
a
was like,
bunch of
look,
reviews.
It's going from the menacing, just intense, or just anything that it tried to build up
Yeah,
got
we're
ruined.
talking about the death of gods here.
Yeah. So all that stuff and the battles between them kind of felt lackluster to me. Didn't really grab me or
Are you
anything like
talking about
that.
Thor?
they're
and
alright.
Thor?
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's kind of a letdown for me.
all the fights were kind of like.
So
Bummer.
yeah. Other than that,
There's
I did
also be aware that in the comics, Jane has cancer, and so if you are affected by cancer or have a loved one in cancer, this film can and will trigger you. But even in this sense, they play a lot of it for emotion, and it feels like there should be more emotion in the film, given the subject matter, right? Or
Yeah.
given the whole loved ones passing away and dying and things like that. Then because Gore is dealing with he's mad at the gods because his daughter is passed away, and that's why he's kind of killing all the gods. So it's weighty subject matter, but yet it doesn't feel as weighty as it needs to be because
doesn't.
it's constantly doing the
Jokey
mile a
joke.
minute jokes,
Exactly.
and they're just not that funny this time around. So they're hard to excuse.
Yeah, exactly. I like the visuals. I like the soundtrack.
It was super hilarious.
80s.
You'd be like, yo, man.
Overall, I'm gonna give this a 7.
Every time, man, they got a joke. Every time it's serious,
Okay.
got a joke.
As
But
far
they
as
were
the soundtrack
fucking
goes,
hilarious,
I
so I
kinda
let it
disagree.
go.
Like, I'm not a big fan. I'm not a big Guns N' Roses.
So he gave it a
fan.
7.
Tons of Guns N' Roses songs. I love the Rainbow in the Dark, but that's in the credits.
With the other two, dude.
A lot of Guns N' Roses. All right, what do you think, Alex?
This movie's all over the place. I imagine that he wanted to make a 3-hour-long movie, and then what they did is they had to cut it down, and this is the result. I mean, it feels like what we were shown is an incomplete experience. I mean, there's every little individual storyline is missing something. Whether Jane is the one that you pointed out, there's a lot missing. There's a ton of stuff from Gore missing.
They've revealed that in a lot of other,
Director's cut, please.
So we know
Director's
that
cut.
go up to 4 hours. Right?
A long time. Yeah.
It's only 2 hours and 5 minutes. Why? Why is this the shortest of the MCU films?
Yeah,
one of the shortest.
It kind of reminds me a little bit of when we go over to the DC side, where there's something kind of cobbled together at the end, and you can tell there's really important things missing.
Yeah.
I love Taika Waititi. I think his sense of humor most of the time just completely resonates with me. So a lot of the stuff here was working. There's a lot of this is a movie that you can watch a bunch of times if you want to, and there's a lot of little jokes here or there, like Korg's rock god is sitting on a throne of scissors because rock beats scissors.
Yeah.
And like he's sitting on with the Game of Thrones. I mean, there's a lot of little things in there that are like really kind of funny, especially with what happens at Korg at the very end.
I got
Dwayne.
that one.
And so like there's a lot of really funny things in there, but then there's a lot of he plays things like there's these running gags that just they stopped being funny, and then I do feel that the emotionally that there were some strong moments there. There's some really great Thor and Jane stuff there that I think did really well, especially for like a Marvel film. The action I don't like at all. I think that I was getting like Venom vibes because you're fighting shadow monsters, and when you're fighting shadow monster,
the shadow monster stuff, but
you just can't look at it's like what am I seeing? I'm seeing like a bunch of trash bags and a hammer thrown at them or an axe thrown at them, and you don't feel the weight of anything.
They have to rely on the battle between Gore and Thor. Did you like that?
Yeah, but it's 5 minutes long at the very end of the movie, and so the issue is we have a lot of fights with the shadow monsters. We're doing things there, so it's hard to show off how incredible the cinematography is. And we're not seeing a lot of things.
Yeah, we do get another battle sequence towards the beginning of the film. Forgot to mention the Guardians of the Galaxy segment.
Yeah,
like that. They got a war going on there. Does think you've seen it. Little Jean-Claude throwback there.
Yeah, he does some really crazy things like he does in other movies, and I thought that was going to be, we're going to do the crazy things at the beginning, and then we're going to get serious, especially with the subject matter.
Exactly.
But he went crazy throughout this entire film,
Yeah.
and so I don't think that this movie is anywhere near as good as Thor Ragnarok. I'm going between a 6 or 7. I like this movie, but I don't know. I think I'm gonna go with a 7. And that's me being kind because I'm always kind on comic shit because I'm a kid like of comic books and I love this shit. So I'm gonna give a very biased 7.
I assumed Alex was going with a 6. I am between a 6 and a 7 as well. I love Thor Ragnarok, and I actually like this film too. It's just not near that. It's a little messier. The tone is completely off. The jokes were less funny. Some of the creative choices are choices that I didn't really like. But when it's working, there's a great scene with Christian Bale and the kids. This is just creepy as fuck. He's like taunting and talking to the kids. Christian Bale really, makes this work. I like some of the Guardians of the Galaxy stuff at the beginning. That's fun. It's Journeyman Thor. It's weird. I actually saw a picture that Taika Waititi had said that he wanted to make this Thor less likable or something. It's like, well,
really?
Why were there jokes,
well,
1,000 jokes a minute? Like you were the Thor: Love and Thunder director Taika Waititi wanted to make a version of the Asgardian Guard that fans wouldn't really want to see. Why did you want to make a Thor that you wouldn't really want to see? I guess
we already did. Thor 1 and 2.
Yeah, exactly. We already had that version of Thor, and going back
I actually
to that,
like that
Thor
version of
this
Thor.
kind of
Just
does
thought the
regress
movies
to
could have been better.
The dude bro is funny, but like the joke is getting a little old. It's time to get a little bit more serious now. And they do give Thor something that will definitely make him grow up in the future, but it's like, I don't know if I want that direction. So Thor will return at the end of the credits, whether it's in his own movie or as cameos. If it's his own movie, I'm not really sure. I'm excited to see that film and where they take it next. So I'm going to go with a...
I'm concerned.
I'm going to go with a 7 as well. I'm going to give... I'm going to
7, 7.
And I'm going to say, just so that you understand,
just hit the
go
jackpot.
out and see it. Okay? Watch it, support it, and then let us know. It's just, we've seen the highs from the MCU, from Taika Waititi, from Chris Hemsworth, and the Thor universe, and this just isn't quite it. Though, I do like it. Now, where do you think this one fits in overall in the MCU? I like it better than Thor Dark World. That's the one everybody says is garbage. This is better than this. Do you like it better?
I hardly remember
And you know what? I was
watch
way
it again.
too kind to the Eternals. I don't really remember what I gave it. I think I gave it a 7 or an 8.
I like this one better than
I like this one better than the Eternals.
yeah, of
So
course
I
it's
would
better
go
than
back and
Eternals.
re-review
I don't think
Eternals.
I liked Eternals.
I don't
Yeah.
mind.
I can't remember. We got to write this shit down at this point.
I know, right?
There's so
Somebody
many movies.
knows.
If you put
it's hard to remember.
well, then when you get like 40 movies deep, you're like, all right, well, I gave this one a this, and I gave this one a this, and you're like, wait a minute, I gave that one's way too high compared to all of the other ones.
Yeah, sometimes you're like, wait a
Well,
minute.
sometimes there's a lot more beer at the,
That's true. Anyways, go out and see it. It's a good time. Your mileage, though, will vary, especially if you're looking for something a little bit more serious, a little bit more with gravity and emotion. This one is just a good time, and I wish the jokes would have landed a little bit better. Anyways, stick with us because we are going into the spoilers. There's a lot to talk about here, and exactly
Do
why
not
some of
cut
the
it next
different.
time,
We will
please.
see you on
Give
the
us a
next
director's
Angry
cut.
Joke.
Shit.
Bye, guys.
All right. There you have it, folks, from the Angry Man himself, the original YouTube Angry Man, Angry Joe and the crew. As you can see, I agreed a ton with what they had to say. I didn't disagree with much at all, I don't think. I don't think I agreed with anything. I may have disagreed with something, but I don't remember. The whole time y'all saw me nodding and adding to what they had to say. So, yeah. It is what it is. Post comments down below. Let me know what you all thought. If you enjoyed my reaction, hit the like button, subscribe, and share. 10 million subscribers.